To another video. Very special breakdown here today. It's the Philadelphia Eagles, my favorite team. So, been excited to make this video, and we're gonna get into it right now. So, last season, very successful season. Exceeded a lot of people's expectations. Met mine, or I guess failed. Last season, I predicted them to go 14-3, which I was accurate. Didn't get the games right, but I had the record, and I predicted us to be Super Bowl champions. We ended up losing the Super Bowl, but everyone knows that by now. Unfortunate, but optimistic for next season. Obviously, first in the NFC East. Looking at the additions, I think the Eagles did a solid job of addressing a lot of positions of need, not with any necessarily stars, but just getting more guys in there. Specifically at safety, we bring in Terrell Edmunds and Justin Evans, and as well as Greedy Williams, who's listed as a corner. We could move him back to safety potentially, or he could just play like a CB4 role, and maybe we move Keely Ringo, who I'll get into in a little bit later, move him back to safety. Also bring in Rashad Penny, as well as trade for DeAndre Swift, which will fill out the running back room pretty nicely. Already have Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell. You add Contravius Street to the defensive line, Olamide Zaccheaus to the receiving room, Marcus Mariota as backup quarterback, Nicholas Moreau, and Dan Arnold as well. Looking at the losses, it is a long list, and there are some pretty good players, some very important players that the Eagles did lose. Some of the big ones: Isaac Seumalo, starting guard; Marcus Epps and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, both starting safeties; Miles Sanders, Kaiser White, T.J. Edwards, Javon Hargrave, really big one. A lot of depth on the defensive line: Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, Robert Quinn. Also lose Brett Kern, Zach Pascal, Gardner Minshew, and Andre Dillard. So there are some big losses, but overall I think the team is still very good and may have even improved because of their additions, and specifically their draft class, which I'll get into right now. Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, both in the first round. Very good pair. I was super surprised that Eagles were able to get both of these guys. Didn't expect Jalen Carter to fall to us, and we traded up to number 9 from 10, and then Nolan Smith at 30 was great value. Also get Tyler Steen for depth on the O-line. Sidney Brown, safety; Keely Ringo, who I mentioned earlier, also from Georgia; Tanner McKee, another depth quarterback; and Moro Ojomo on the defensive line. So overall, I think that the major holes in the Eagles roster after last season were running back, which were filled by DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny; linebacker, which is still maybe a little weaker. You bring in Nicholas Moreau, and you already have Nakobe Dean there, who you drafted last year. I think will do well now that he's given a chance to have that starting role. And then safety, you address as well with the additions I mentioned earlier, as well as Sidney Brown and potentially Keely Ringo. And then defensive line depth, did lose a lot of players there, but a lot of them were brought in to fill injuries last season, like Robert Quinn and Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph. And you also lose Javon Hargrave, but I feel like the defensive line now still has so much depth. Your outside linebacker spots are filled by Hassan Reddick and Nolan Smith. Defensive ends, Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat. And then for the defensive line, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox. It's, I think, still a very strong position for the Eagles. But enough of that. Let's get on to the opponents and predictions. Looking at the schedule, it is a very tough schedule. Play the NFC East. Obviously, it's our own division. Some tough games in there. Cowboys are always tough. Giants have become a solid team. The Commanders have very good defense and good offensive weapons, but questions around the quarterback. AFC East, very talented division. NFC West, some tough teams in there too, as well as the Vikings, Chiefs, and Bucks. Looking at a ceiling, I have the Eagles matching the 14-3 record that they had last season. I think that they can definitely hit this. I have them splitting the Cowboys, sweeping the Giants and Commanders in this scenario, losing only to the Bills and Seahawks outside of the division, and then beating the Dolphins, 49ers, Cardinals, and Vikings at home, and beating the Jets, Patriots, Rams, Chiefs, and Buccaneers away. On the other side of things, looking at a floor, I have it 11-6. I can't really see the Eagles being much worse than 11-6. And in this scenario, I have them splitting the Cowboys and Commanders, sweeping the Giants, losing to the Bills and Dolphins at home, losing to the Chiefs and Seahawks away, then beating the 49ers, Cardinals, and Vikings at home, and beating the Jets, Patriots, Rams, and Buccaneers away. Now for my prediction, because I am an Eagles fan, I am very optimistic, and I do think that we are going to be at, if not very close to, the ceiling as opposed to the floor. So I have the same prediction for the prediction as I did for the ceiling, which is, again, splitting the Cowboys, sweeping the rest of the division, and only losing to the Bills and Seahawks, home and away. I could definitely see these losses being in other places. Dolphins could be tough. Chiefs, obviously, is a tough one. Jets could be a tough game away. 49ers. But I do predict the Eagles to be a 14-3 team. I expect us to be number one in the NFC again, and I do expect and hope for another Super Bowl appearance that hopefully goes better next season. That's all I have to say about the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you for watching. This video was a little longer than a lot of the other breakdowns, mostly because it's my favorite team, so I just wanted